This is Talkback 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309.
This is Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM. KGVO, Missoula's news and weather station.
Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Thursday, November 21st edition of Talkback. And, of course, Talkback brought to you this morning by Harrington Surgical Supply, where you can feel confident in their discreet and knowledgeable guidance on a multitude of products and medical supplies. Also brought to you by 123 Seamless Gutters, the family-owned and operated business serving all of western Montana. Here's their number. 406-240-2669. They are protecting the foundation of your future. Also brought to you by Y West Storage. Out of the Y, if you need storage, here's the number, 406-510-0590, because they're making room for you at Y West Storage. Then also brought to you by Phillips Janitorial, offering both residential and commercial cleaning. It's your home and your business. They got it all covered. No job too big or small. Call 406-260-6617.
The views and opinions expressed on Talkback are not those of the staff, management, or advertisers.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting on an adventure. We're going to be doing 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen, of open phones. And so there's a lot going on out there. So whatever might be on your mind, we are open to talk about it today here on KGVO on Talkback. So that's Mr. Nick Christensen over there. Good morning, Mr. Nick.
Good morning.
All right, lots going on. First of all, we have heard that the injury crash that occurred out by Trader Brothers, past Lolo there, is finally being cleared and traffic is beginning to move. It was backed all the way up to Florence, I understand. And so now the traffic's finally beginning to move. So people are going to be late to wherever they're going. But as always, we try to encourage people, a situation like that, don't try to make it up by speeding and all that jazz. Just let it flow and get there when you get there, because the one thing we don't need is more crashes in that area. So anyway.
Yeah, and showing an injury crash too, obviously.
Right. Yeah, it was an injury crash. Yeah. And so that they've got it all cleaned up, I guess. The injured party is being transported. So the road has been cleared and traffic is moving. So that's always good news. So if you're in that mess and you want to describe what happened by keeping your hands firmly on the wheel, you can give us a call if you'd like at 721-1290. So another thing about that particular road, I just did a story about that yesterday with Dean DiCarlo. Mm-hmm. He was the chief, if you will, engineer or project manager for the resurfacing project from Missoula out to Lolo. As you remember, if you were here in the spring and summer, you knew overnights they had to slow traffic down in order to put the new surface on there. I don't know about you, but I am absolutely delighted with that roadway now. It is smooth, it is clean, it just looks great, and so I'm just wondering what you folks think about it. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309.
How did he tell you it went? I mean, because obviously it was a long project. They worked a lot of nights, early mornings. So
that was what they had to do. They had to do all of the resurfacing between between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. And that was a challenge because obviously it's dark, so there's a lot of things going on, and traffic was still moving in the area in both directions. So yeah, and he said there were only 3 traffic accidents that occurred during the entire period of the repaving project. There was one injury crash, but there were no fatalities. And the one thing that he was very concerned about, and you can understand why, no one in the Department of Transportation, none of the workers were involved in causing the crashes. It was basically just people driving too fast for conditions and losing control of their vehicles and that sort of thing. So.
And I was surprised to learn because you had that stat in your story that he mentioned that somewhere near 30,000 vehicles travel that route
every day. Every day.
That's a lot. So but I'm glad they got this done right before winter, obviously, before snow hits. Because I can't even remember how many we had last year, but I know we had a couple big ones that caused long delays. So I don't know if repaving helps with that. I mean, I would assume so to an extent, but yeah, I mean, good that they got it done when they did.
Yeah, I the one thing I remember about last year was, I believe it was last year, when the truck with all the landscaping, the rock and whatever, overturned, and traffic was backed up for what? Hours and hours in both directions.
Yeah. And I think they had one lane of travel open that they kept like stopping and going. And we had a coworker that took like an extra 3 hours to get here. Yeah. That one was a bad one.
Yeah. Anyway, what's on your mind this morning? We're up against our first break. I know you'd love to have Nick and I discuss what's going on in the world. That's great, but we'd much rather hear from you. What's on your mind this morning? We have open phones all the way till 10 o'clock, so we're open to whatever you'd like to talk about. 721-1290 is our number. We're coming right back after this.
Struggling with a slow...
Dennis Bragg checking your weather. A few rain and snow showers possible Thursday, turning to rain by midday. We're not really expecting to see any snow accumulate, but the chance of precipitation is fairly high, up to 80%, so showers will be persistent. However, like I told you yesterday, the real heavy rain and mountain snow is focused in northwest Montana, with sloppy conditions from Lookout Pass north through the lower Clark Fork, Kootenai, and the Flathead. Rain will persist on Friday before we turn a little colder again for the weekend, with possible rain and snow showers.
Donors choose. Support a classroom. Build a future.
Did you know that every year, public school teachers spend nearly $500 of their own money for student supplies? Let's do the math. That comes out to over $1.2 billion a year. And that's just not right. At Donors Choose, we want students and teachers to have the tools they need for a great education. And now, more than ever, they need your help. Here's what you can do. Go to DonorsChoose.org and choose from teachers' requests that support reading, math, science, history, and more. Once a request is funded, we'll take care of shipping everything directly to the teacher. It's that easy. You'll receive thank you letters and photos from students and teachers and a report of how every dollar was spent. Teachers' needs have never been greater. Learn more at DonorsChoose.org.
Donors choose. Support a classroom. Build a future.
We are back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. It's open phones, folks. You pick the topic, whatever you want to talk about. That's good with us. And Tim is up first. Tim, good morning, sir. You're on Talkback. What's on your mind?
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm concerned about the Bank Street parking structure downtown.
Okay.
I understand that the Parking Commission has approved up to $7 million to tear that down, build a new one. That structure is 22 years old. Mm-hmm. How can a concrete and steel structure have a lifespan of 22 years?
Now, let me clarify. I had heard that they're not going to tear it down; they're simply going to add to it. So, or are they really going to tear it down and start all over again? Because that would take a long time.
But what I read was that the current structure has foundation and drainage problems and needs to be torn down.
Wow.
Where'd you read that?
It's actually on your website.
Okay. I wonder if Peter did that or someone else did it on it. We have so many people posted on our site now. Yeah. But I want to find that story because I want to get this right for you. So,
because it's my understanding that it's going to be reconstructed with the exact same number of parking places that it has now, which I would think that if you're going to do something, you would try to figure out how to enlarge it with the need for parking downtown. But I'm concerned about who's looking after our city infrastructure, who was responsible for maintaining and looking after that building. And in 22 years to find out that it's deteriorated to the point that it needs to be replaced. That should have been somebody's job to make sure that building was maintained and last more than 22 years.
Well, I'm wondering perhaps, go ahead, Nick, please. I'm sorry, go ahead, yeah.
I was going to say, I found the story for you, Tim, and it was Missoula Current that wrote that. And you're right. I mean, it looks like they're taking the whole thing down, and while they build it, they are going to build it bigger with more spaces it looks like, as I'm reading the rest of the story here. But yeah, all the costs are here. They're talking about, while the financing model hasn't been finalized, rebuilding the 22-year-old structure carries a cost of roughly $6.1 million or $42,700 per stall, while the other costs and fees added in, the commission will likely bond around $7.2 million. So yeah, you had your numbers all right, sir.
And I kind of got the impression that because it would be self-funded by parking fees, that the taxpayer shouldn't be too concerned about it.
Yeah. No, and they did say no timeline's been set for the project.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 2-level garage will retain its current capacity. Yeah, and adding a basement level, so more parking would have added an additional $4 million in costs. So yeah, it looks like they're working on designs, but they have I don't know how that, I mean, I'd assume that'd have to be something that goes through city council, but I don't know.
Well, no, we still have the city, the one that's over by the Holiday Inn, that parking structure. We have 2 parking structures downtown. The original one that you're talking about, and then the one over by the Holiday Inn. And I will tell you that to tear that structure down and start from scratch, was there a timeline mentioned as to how long?
That's what I just said. No, there's no timeline.
Yeah, because I'm trying to imagine building a concrete and steel structure in an area of downtown that's already there, right? First of all, it's going to reduce the parking by that number of spaces for we don't know how long, at least maybe a year or two. And I would say that people have a right to, have arched eyebrows and going, what happened to that thing?
Well, like Tim said, he said an August report by DCI engineers suggested the garage is now, quote, plagued with structural and waterproofing failures that were determined to be too great to overcome in an economically effective manner. Wow. So apparently it'd be cheaper to tear it down and rebuild it the right way than to try to fix it, is what I'm reading. So.
My understanding, it was described as the Bank Street parking garage, and it had a photograph of the parking structure.
Right.
That's one block east of Higgins, on Front Street.
Yes. So that's
which would be down by the Holiday Inn.
Oh, you mean the one that by the Holiday Inn is the one that's going to be torn down?
Well, if that's Bank Street, and the photograph they showed was of the structure on one block east of Higgins on Front Street.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So the older
maintaining our
So the older structure is still okay.
That's the one that I read and was described to me was one block east of Higgins on Bank Street.
Wow.
And it had a photograph of the building that would be kitty corner from the old Bond Mercantile and across the street from the Elks Club.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's the newer one then. Yeah. Well, thanks for letting us know, Tim. Appreciate it, man. You've a lot to think about there.
Have a good day.
And the same to you, sir. Let's should we go ahead and take a break before we get our next caller? Okay, we're going to come right back. We have Dave standing by. What's on your mind this morning? It's open phones from now until 10 o'clock. We'd love to hear from you. 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. We're coming back right after this.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talk Back. It's open phones till 10 o'clock this morning. What's on your mind this morning? Let's jump right back in and get Dave on the line. Dave, good morning, sir. You are on Talk Back. What's up?
Yeah, good morning. I'd like to talk about Matt Gaetz. You know who he is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. I think Trump's picking of him, it was a stroke of genius. Practically no one in Congress likes the guy, and if Donald Trump can force him through and get appointed, that's a signal that the Congress will be in his pocket, and he can do anything he wants. The background of Matt Gaetz was he had to go back to Florida, and a man named Joel Greenberg, who was a county tax collector of Seminole County. Him and Matt Gaetz partied all the time, and Greenberg ended up in jail for 11 years for stealing the county's money and supplying underage women for Matt Gaetz. And it was quite a deal there, and they had a lot of fun together partying. And if he can get them through, then anything Trump wants to do, he can do.
All right, Dave. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Let's get Jeff on the line. Jeff, good morning, sir. You're on Talkback. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, good morning, Nick. Good morning, Pete. Good morning, Montana. Earlier this week, I think it was Monday, you had a story about Jesse Laslovich.
Yes.
And it was concerning the award of 2 grants, I think close to $2 million, close to $1 million each, I think. I'm trying to remember the details.
Yes.
And one was to Lolo, and one was, I believe, to the Billings School District.
Yeah, the Billings School District, right.
Yeah. And I don't know if it struck you as odd, but when you as I heard the story, you have, he's a U.S. attorney, so that's the Department of Justice, is handing out mental health dollars, which is Department of Health and Human Services, to school districts, which is the Department of Education. Why is the Justice Department supporting the Department of Education with mental health dollars that should be under DHS? It just, as I listened to the story, it just showed me, and it's not casting aspersions on anybody, how out of control the government is that you have the Justice Department handing out dollars to school districts. That shouldn't be anywhere near their wheelhouse. They're supposed to be catching bad guys.
Well, I will tell you that part of that grant going to the Billings School District directly deals with law enforcement, and the fact that he told me that there are gangs actually formed up in the junior high schools in Billings that are causing problems and then going into high school. So I can certainly understand that. Now the other with the Lolo group, I believe it also has something to do with preventing crime in that area through the reach of that group.
Well, so, like Jeff said, the Lolo group is for mental health,
right? Mental health,
and they do say in the article, Jeff, which obviously you read, but Laslovich said the Department of Justice is inherently reactive to issues. Specifically, a crime is committed, it's investigated, it's referred to us, we prosecute and then send them to prison. And far too often, we're not being proactive. So he said he's really encouraged that we're getting substantial resources into the hands of each of these entities so that they can be more proactive. But you're right, the Department of Justice usually doesn't really kind of deal with these things. So
yeah, it's usually not their wheelhouse.
I just think it struck me as a perfect example of how the federal government is out of control when you have the U.S. Attorney for Montana worrying about the Lolo school districts and the Billings school district. I understand the gang problem and how that needs to be fought, but it just shows, at least in my mind, things are topsy-turvy. Maybe it's just a I'm an old codger and get off my lawn moment, but it struck me as completely out of bounds. So.
Well, I've had several.
Anyway,
I've had several conversations with Mr. Lazlovich over the last couple of years. Got to know him pretty well, and as soon as I saw that, and I saw the word the organization out of Lolo that with the far-reaching effects of their organization, he was willing to talk to me about it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want. I mean, every good reporter needs sources and contacts, so I'm not chastising that.
Oh no.
It's the whole funding, taking dollars from people all around the country to benefit Lolo School District. It seems like the principle of subsidiarity would apply in that we need to get people, our local communities taking care of things like that. And why does our local community allow gangs in middle schools, and what can we do to get rid of that? And I don't know if it's a pitchforks and torches moment yet, but.
Yeah, well, and it's surprising, too. I mean, $1 million is a lot of money because they said the superintendent there, along with the school board, they're proactive about this. This is talking about the situation in Billings. But they've gotten this $1 million for what they're calling a culture of care program, and they're going to hire 2 full-time specialists to work directly with students in 6 middle schools. So if you do the math, I'm not sure exactly how the money is going to be funded, but does that mean there's 2 people making $500,000 to work with 6 middle schools? I don't know exactly, but that quote there kind of seems to indicate that. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's something that's called overhead or wrap rate on people, and so it's not just the salary you pay; it's also benefits. That tends to make it about 2 times. So if it's $500,000 per person, that would be salaries around $250,000. So that would kind of indicate maybe mental health professionals or something that they're trying to get in there. Yeah. Right. I mean, that surprises me when you say that, because when you said $1 million, I was thinking, well, maybe 5 people then to come into the school. But if it's only 2, then that in my mind even makes it worse. How are you going to break up a gang with 2 folks? I just don't know.
Well, the whole idea is getting ahead of that and hoping that junior high kids will not want to get in gangs if they're properly looked after and properly counseled.
Exactly.
We'll see what happens.
Thanks for the call. Thanks for the call, sir. Appreciate it. All right, let's get Rick on the line. Rick,
I think we're up against a break.
Up a break. Okay, we'll take a quick commercial break. We'll get Rick on the line, and hopefully your phone calls. It's open phones from now until 10 o'clock this morning. We'd love to hear from you about whatever topic you'd like to discuss. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. Coming back right after this.
Dennis Bragg checking your weather. A few rain and snow showers possible Thursday, turning to rain by midday. We're not really expecting to see any snow accumulate, but the chance of precipitation is fairly high, up to 80%, so showers will be persistent. However, like I told you yesterday, the real heavy rain and mountain snow is focused in northwest Montana, with sloppy conditions from Lookout Pass north through the lower Clark Fork, Kootenai, and the Flathead. Rain will persist on Friday before we turn a little colder again for the weekend, with possible rain and snow showers.
They are our cuddlers and coworkers, purr machines and love bugs, and constant companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life so much better. When we face unexpected challenges in life, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people who love their pets and the pets who love their people, ensuring these families stay exactly where they belong, together. And you have something to offer. With an open heart and mind, there is nothing you can't do. There's no gesture too small or too big when it comes to helping. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. You can help keep pets and people together. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Talk Back. It's open phones. What's on your mind this morning? 721-1290 is our number. Rick has been waiting through the break. Rick, thank you for your patience, sir. What's on your mind?
Morning, gentlemen. I was not able to catch your last broadcast on the World Affairs Council. with your two guests that you always have. Was anything brought up while President Biden has decided at this time to let Ukraine use American long-range missiles go into Russia?
I don't believe we discussed that. No, sir, I don't believe we discussed that.
Well, you being a very rounded individual in world affairs, what is your opinion on that? It seems like a very petty thing to do 2 months before a politically petty thing to do, to put our future president in a position like that.
Well, yeah, because Trump is has hailed himself as the big problem solver, right? To be able to, he said on his first day he'll be able to go in and knock down the thing in Ukraine, and of course there was a lot of bravado going on there. But when they're using weapons from the United States to actually shoot into Russia, that Vladimir Putin has said that's war. You know, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work.
Well, they've also are allowing new American mines to be set all over the border of Ukraine and Russia. These mines are set on batteries instead of to where after I believe it's a 2-year period for the mines that they will diffuse themselves after 2 years, and I could have that timeline wrong, but it seems like that our administration is putting potentially American lives, definitely Ukrainian and Russian lives, ahead of or behind how they want to just give Trump a black eye, and that's kind of my comments. And But I know a couple of your callers that call in a lot have a background in military intelligence and basic military tactics. I was wondering if they could call in and give their opinion on why this is happening at the time it is.
You bet. Well, thanks for the call, Rick. We appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
All right, 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. I've often thought that, you know, the transition period between Election Day and January 20th, when all of the new hires, if you will actually take office and begin to make policy, is a time of people should just be hanging on to things and just wait. Let's put a pause before we make all these big commitments, because a whole new administration is taking charge on January 20th. But right now, for instance, John Tester is still the senator for Montana. And so he has the opportunity to affect all sorts of legislation. Will he do so fairly or thoughtfully or with anger and vengeance? I don't know. We've never had him on the show, so I don't know how that's going to work. So anyway, love to find out what you folks think. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. Hey, by the way, in case you can use the KGVO app as well. If you just download the app, you can hit the message us button, and we'll be happy to share that information. Yeah, Nick, what's up?
We got Harry.
Harry, good morning, sir. Thanks for weighing in. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, good morning, Peter. Yeah, just first couple of things, like on Jeff's call. I think it's probably a smart way to go about it. I mean, you get more bang for the buck if you stop crimes from happening in the first place. That seems like a pretty good way to fight crime. I mean, as opposed to waiting until it happens, then go round them up and do all that. So, just, to me, it sounds like a good way to spend some money. But anyway,
well, I will tell you this: it's not the Department of Pre-Crime, you know, like in the Tom Cruise movie, but it is an opportunity to influence young people before they begin a life of crime, quote unquote, to help them, you know, discover their purpose in life through scholarship and education, that sort of thing, rather than through crime.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like saying, we're going to fight fentanyl. Instead of fighting, having it come across the border, fight it by having people not buy it. Yep. And that's a good way to fight it.
Reducing demand is the ultimate goal. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be the best. That's the only way to fix it. But as for Ukraine, I think what Biden should have done. They should have done this. First of all, they should have done that months ago, and also they should just not not put it out. This whole idea of we're going to tell everybody what we're going to do. You let Russia know that they're going to do it by having the bombs drop on them. That's how you let them know it's happening. Like, this idea of, well, we're going to put it on the news and then let them know. To me, that's a ridiculous way to do anything, especially with foreign policy when you're in a war like that. You just don't, tell them what's going to happen. That's just silly. But and for there's the Trump and his all his people he's putting in. There's a saying that say that Republicans run on government doesn't work, then they get in there and prove it. So that's what.
I had not heard that before. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, all these people, some of them might be very smart. Like, I think Dr. Oz is pretty smart. He must be pretty smart. He's a surgeon. But how can is he good at managing? Managing is a whole lot different than, being a surgeon. Or say somebody came to you, say, Peter, you are we really like you broadcasting for the Grizz. Why don't we put you in charge of the Montana athletic for the whole university? You could be in charge of that. Do you think that'd be probably a good way to run a athletic program?
Actually, I would say nix on that, simply because Kent Haslam is a brilliant guy and does a fantastic job as the athletic director for the University of Montana, and I enjoy being a happy nobody.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's my point is that you got to have somebody who actually knows how to run stuff. It's it's going to be interesting to see what happens with all these people he's putting in there. They're might have been good at whatever they did, but what they're doing isn't what they're going to be doing in the future. So it's going to be interesting. And also another thing on Ukraine, I got $100 that's saying that the war in Ukraine will still be going on a week after Trump is elected. I don't want anybody to take that up on it.
Well, he's been elected, and it's been more than a week. So,
I mean, when he actually
when he takes office, yeah, January 20th, right?
Put in. Yep, I got $100 saying that the war is still going to be going on a week afterwards. So,
well, we'll see.
We see his promises. Also in the wall, like his wall. I'd say I'm all for building the Mexican wall, the wall on the border there, as long as they have the money from Mexico. That's what the Congress should tell them. Well, sure, as soon as you get all that money from Mexico that you promised, now this is a promise, you swore that Mexico is paying for it. As soon as you get that money, we'll build that wall just big and as beautiful as you want.
All right, Harry, thanks for the call. Yep. We're going to come right back. We have Dave standing by, and we'd love to know what you folks think. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. This is open phones. So whatever topic you'd like to discuss, that's why we're here today. So give us a call. We'll be back right after this.
Call 123-SEAMLESS.
Need to replace your Social Security card? In most states, you can request one online with a My Social Security account. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can also get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Welcome back to Talk Back. It's open phones. Whatever might be on your mind this morning, that's what we want to talk about. 721-1290. And Dave is back with another question or comment. Dave, good morning. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, about the war. First of all, I would have voted for Nikki Haley, and I am very frustrated at the Biden administration not supplying, leftover equipment. Some of it very obsolete, just sitting around rusting, when we could be sending it to Ukraine to, Russia, allowing Russia to take Ukraine, to me is a lot like what Neville Chamberlain did letting Hitler take Czechoslovakia. I mean, sure, you temporarily put off the war.
It's appeasement.
Yes, very much appeasement. And Biden's administration has spent a lot of time just giving Ukraine enough supplies to keep them in the war and no more. And I'm hoping the next administration will step up and say, we're going to give everything we have that is just laying around rusting and force Putin into deciding whether he wants to nuke everyone, which of course he doesn't, because he would get nuked too. So he'd lose his golden house. So I think we have very little to fear from Putin, and we would have more to fear if we let him take Ukraine, because then it just emboldens him.
And meanwhile, people keep dying, and it's just a horrible situation. It's a war by proxy, and it's a way for major powers to, basically fiddle around in somebody else's war and not get their feet wet.
Right, and North Korea's joined in. It's a really good test of the present equipment we have. You sell lots of Bradley fighting machines because they're doing pretty good job in Ukraine. So, it's a tool for the corporations that make the equipment to advertise how good their stuff is.
All right.
But
Dave, thanks for the. Go ahead, please. Yeah, please go ahead.
I hope we decide that we want to let Ukraine try to win. I'm not saying they will win, but let them try to win instead of holding them back by not giving them the stuff that we just have laying around.
All right, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Sandy is standing by. Good morning, Sandy. It's good to hear your voice, ma'am. What's on your mind?
Good morning. I wanted to bring things back to the local level a little bit.
Great.
So there's a couple of things that I'm working on. As you know, I'm working on the no camping in parks within the city limits for urban camping. And that public hearing is on December 2nd at the city council meeting right after Thanksgiving break. So don't forget to come if you have feelings about that. But I'm also working on changing up the sidewalk payment program. I'm not sure if your listeners know, but if the city decides that a sidewalk needs to be redone or put in front of your house, you are responsible as the homeowner to pay upwards of $9,000 on top of your property taxes for that. So what I'm trying to do is get that either paid for by property taxes solely, get that paid for by a sidewalk improvement district, so a special district, or get that $9,000 threshold down to $3,500 so it's not as heavy as a burden. There's some arguments against that, as in, like, if the property taxes are paying for it, then the homeowner gets the benefit of increased value to their home from not paying that out of their own pocket. So there's arguments against that, that property taxes should be going to other things. But my idea is that people think that their property taxes are going towards infrastructure and sidewalks and streets, so why can't property taxes pay for that? So I just wanted to see what people's thoughts are with that, because we have a project going on with Eaton Street right now with property taxes being due, and there's a couple of houses on that area where they're about to get a $9,000 bill if this project does go through, on top of their already super high property taxes. So since I don't own a home, I'm just a renter, I am relying on your listeners to give me their opinions if they're for what I'm pursuing and lowering the threshold, or even getting rid of the threshold altogether, or if they think that we should still have homeowners pay their fair share or whatnot of the sidewalk being put in front of their house. Some other people think that it's unfair if we do this program now because some people already paid their $9,000 or even upwards of $30,000 back in the day, and they already had to pay their share, so why don't people have to pay it now? So just wanted to get everyone's opinion on that.
Yeah, Sandy, I had a quick question for you. Circling back to no camping in parks, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the gentleman who we had on for an hour David Moore, correct, yeah. And when he was on, one of the kind of critiques that we heard after and during the show was that there weren't a lot of solutions being mentioned. I was just curious, based on your talks with some of your colleagues there at City Council, what's the vibe like when it comes to that? Or does that seem to be something where if people do come and voice their concerns, that votes may be swayed potentially, or are they open to that idea? Or are we looking at a potential just 9-3, 8-4 type of vote where it may be just something falling on deaf ears? Like, what's the vibe of council in these early stages on that?
So right now I have 6 sponsors with me. So this is the first thing that I might actually get to pass. And we need 7 to make it pass. So I just need one more vote. So it's going to be really close. I think I have one of my colleagues that's teetering towards our side of passing it. But if we get most of the people who are against the ordinance in there, they might bend the pressure and vote against it. So I think that having a crowd of supporters for this ordinance would be incredibly helpful with getting this one person over the fence in voting for it.
And when is that next meeting scheduled, Sandy?
It's on Monday, December 2nd at 6 p.m. at Council Chambers, and it might go late, so you can always testify virtually. And if you need any help with that, please feel free to reach out to the city or to me, and I will help you with that.
Fantastic. And thank you to you and all the city councilors for the work that you do, and, of course, the mayor. You're working, doing yeoman's work, basically, trying to help people with their property taxes and try to solve I've always wondered about the sidewalk thing in the city and how the homeowner has to pay for that because it's public use, right? So anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I really appreciate that. And as a renter, I was just joking with my husband, like, why do I care so much about these property taxes? I'm not even paying property taxes. But one day I will. So
there you go.
I'm really passionate about it. So thank you.
Sandy, it's a pleasure visiting with you. Thank you so much. And we're going to go take a quick break. Come right back. We have Larry and Andy standing by. It's open phones till 10 o'clock. So if you have something on your mind, give us a call. It's 721-1290. Hey, welcome back to Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. We're rocking right along here on open phones. Let's jump right back in. Get Larry on the line. Larry, thank you for holding, sir. You're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Good morning. I just read an article in the news about a new effort by the Missoula Economic Partnership to help low-income people get into housing. And in the article, they talked about an individual had, I think, 80% of the median income, and if it was a family, it was 150% of the median income. And but what I didn't see in that article was the exit strategy. Now, if that person gets a job and they start making more money, do they just get kicked out of this low-income housing program? I think there needs to be a weaning of that assistance if they are able to exceed those limits rather than just cut them off. And as I recall, they were having trouble filling up these new low-income housing apartments because people exceeded the income guidelines. And I would like to know the next time you have Grant Keir on, if I'm not around, if you could ask him to explain that and what their exit strategy is for these people once they start moving on with their life and exceed those limitations that the program has for them. So,
Hey, Larry, I'm not sure what the exact topic's going to be for Econ 101 next week, but Grant is scheduled to be here Tuesday from 9 to 10, and I know in the past he's been willing to take some calls, questions that may be slightly off topic, and this was a big deal. They sent out the press release. So if you have time to call next Tuesday in between 9 and 10, I'm sure he'd be able to answer a couple questions for you real briefly about it.
Okay, that'd be great. But if you come across it, I'd appreciate getting an answer to it. So
okay.
That's very interesting. Because people get jobs, they start doing better, and so they're still in a low income property. How do you punish them for doing better by forcing them to go to a more expensive place to live? I don't know how that works, but Larry, we'll try to talk about it.
Or you just stay there and depend on the government, and if they run out of money in this fund, what do you do then? So It's one of those questions. You got to have an exit strategy for those programs. So,
Larry, thanks for the call. I appreciate that. I bet smart people already have that in mind. We'll find out. Andy's on the line. Andy, good morning. We got about 3 minutes before we have to take our hard break, sir. What's on your mind?
Good morning. I'd like to talk about if your folks want a different view on Ukraine, they might try Jeffrey Sachs and John Mearsheimer. The United States put the government that Ukraine has right now, they put them in there. The United States is bombing a country with nuclear weapons. it's extremely difficult to even understand. Just think if Canada or let's say Mexico had weapons from China that were going on to the United States. You have to kind of look at the whole history of this, where the United States promised China or Russia they would not move NATO 1 inch forward. So the United States is completely responsible for the war in Ukraine, and I sure hope we can get through this without a nuclear war. And yes, you have a lot to worry about from Putin. Anyway, that's my comment.
All right. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Do we have time to get one more on?
Let's try.
Okay, let's get it. This is
Alfred.
Alfred, what's on your mind? Got about a minute and a half, sir. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. I'd like to know why the American veteran refuses to defend their own country. I'd like to know why we have sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, and no veteran are defending us. What's causing them not to defend their own country?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean.
Well, we have veterans.
Yes.
We have a country that's being overrun by illegals.
Okay.
Why isn't the American veteran who are trained to defend and to fight don't go down to the border to close it themselves? Why are they not protecting their own states from these illegals eating their food, taking their jobs?
Both Nick and I are going like, what? I'm not sure I understand the whole concept that veterans that veterans who chose to serve their country, took an oath to serve their country, would break the laws of their country in order to try to get rid of people they don't want there.
Then they're useless eaters.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call. All right. So yeah, we're gonna take our top of the hour break here in just a minute, and that means the phone lines are clear. If you have a question or a comment on open phones on Talkback, we have another hour coming up. So all you have to do is pick up the phone, give us a call, 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309. We would love to hear from you, and so stay with us. Top of the hour news is coming up.
I love this company.
This is Talkback, 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309.
This is Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM. KGVO, Missoula's news and weather station.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of Talkback, rocking right along here this morning. And Talkback is brought to you this morning by 123 Seamless Gutters, family-owned and operated, top-notch customer service, and offering free estimates. Their number, 240-2669, protecting the foundation of your future. Harrington Surgical Supply, where appointments are preferred for mastectomy fittings, custom compressions, but walk-ins, of course, are always welcome. Y West Storage is out at the Y on Two Smokes Way. If you need a place to store your stuff, here's the number, 406-510-0590, because they're making room for you at Y West. Phillips Janitorial offers both residential and commercial cleaning, so they got you covered with your home and your business. Give them a call. No job too big or small, 406-260-6617.
The views and opinions expressed on Talkback are not those of the staff, management, or advertisers.
Welcome back, everybody. Another hour of open phones stretches before us, and it's all yours. Give us a call. 721-1290 is our number. Whatever you would like to talk about, that's what we want to do. So let's go right to the phones and say good morning to Cammie. Good morning, Cammie. What's on your mind?
Good morning. I'm calling in regarding the Special Improvement Districts. My question is there an end life on those? I was looking at my paperwork on my property specifically, and it said it was our Special Improvement District is supposed to last 20 years. We're in the 21st year, and we're still being charged for it. So is there an end life on SIDs?
Well, if that's interesting. So now, what entity is charging you this? Is it the state, the county, the city?
The county.
It's the county. Have you tried contacting one of the county commissioners or perhaps the county auditor to find out if perhaps there is paperwork error there?
No, I have not contacted anyone. I just was told that you guys were discussing this morning, so I thought I'd throw it out there and find out.
That's what I would do. I would get one of the county commissioners on the phone and say, hey, I've got a question for you, and they either will refer you to the right person or help to give you an answer. Because if you had a 20-year SID, Special Improvement District, and the 20 years is up, one would think, hey, hallelujah, we're free now, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was hoping.
Well, if there's somebody out there that knows, smarter than we are, which isn't hard, 721-1290. Speak for yourself, guy. 721-1290 is our number. Cammie, I'm sorry that's happening, but I hope we can help get you some answers.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Cammie, thanks for the call. Good luck to you. Yeah. Josh Slotnick, Wendy Navarro, Dave Strohmeyer, the three county commissioners. They're right there in the book. And I know in our many conversations with them that they like hearing from their constituents. They're there to be problem solvers. And so if you have a problem, I would suggest you get their number and give them a call. So. All right, so who's up next? Dave is back. Dave, good morning. You are back, sir. What's on your mind for the third time today? Go ahead.
March 31st, 2019,
okay.
The Ukraine people have an election, and they voted in the present leader. It wasn't imposed on them by the United States. And point number two, in 1994, the United States signed an agreement with Russia and Ukraine to respect Ukraine borders, and in the exchange for that, Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons that were on its territory. And we haven't kept our end of the agreement, and that's the historical fact.
Well, Russia sure hasn't either.
Right, exactly. And, the idea that somehow we're forcing Russia to attack Ukraine is not true. I mean,
well, anybody that's read anything about this conflict knows that it's simply Yeltsin, his goal to be an emperor, basically, and to conquer the world, and he's going to do it with anybody's help or not, and he doesn't care. Or Putin, right? Putin.
Putin, yeah. He wants to reset up the original Russia, the total, including Alaska, really.
Yeah, the Russian Empire.
Yeah, the Russian Empire. I mean, that's his goal, and he stated it a long time. I mean, he was really angry when the Baltic states split off, and he's just trying to reinstitute it all. And we didn't force him to go to war. That's the bottom line. He chose the special operation, as he calls it. This is his own choice.
Well, one would think that maybe he hasn't lost enough men or enough materiel to say this is not a good idea. Just keep on going.
Yeah, I guess, it doesn't really matter as long as the people don't rise up against him, I guess. But
yeah, they're not in a position to do that. But yeah,
exactly.
Well, Dave, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, let's. I'll tell you, we're up against a break. We're less than a minute away from break, so we have Bob and Jerry and Jeff all waiting to visit with us. It's open phones. Whatever might be on your mind this morning, 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309. We're coming right back after this.
Hey there, Diesel Daredevil. Dennis Bragg checking your weather. A few rain and snow showers possible Thursday, turning to rain by midday. We're not really expecting to see any snow accumulate, but the chance of precipitation is fairly high, up to 80%, so showers will be persistent. However, like I told you yesterday, the real heavy rain and mountain snow is focused in northwest Montana, with sloppy conditions from Lookout Pass north through the lower Clark Fork, Kootenai, and the Flathead. Rain will persist on Friday before we turn a little colder again for the weekend with possible rain and snow showers.
All right, welcome back. It's Talk Back. It's open phones until 10 o'clock this morning. Phones are ringing, 721-1290. We sure appreciate that. 1-800-568-5309. I believe Bob is up next. Bob, good morning, sir. You're on Talk Back.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen,
hey, Bob.
and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you.
Leaving for the East Coast tomorrow, so I will not be in my beloved Montana, but a big thank you to all the listeners for the many great years, and to both you and Nick. So everybody have a safe Thanksgiving. But this is really to pivot off of a couple of folks that have brought up Russia, the missiles and such, and
yes,
I'm going to just read a quick briefing. I'd asked Nick to look up Ian Bremmer, Eurasia Group. This is a well-recognized and a gentleman that has a little bit of insight and knowledge here. So let me just give this to you, and then you can ponder this. President Biden on Wednesday approved supplying anti-personnel landmines to Ukraine in yet another major policy shift from the outgoing president. Mines are banned in most countries because they often maim and kill civilians. But Ukraine says they are needed to halt Russian advances. The landmine decision comes as Ukraine has also begun using long-range missiles. Here's the important part. From the U.S. and the United Kingdom to hit targets inside Russia for the first time after getting long-awaited permission. So Biden just didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to make life miserable for Trump any more than I possibly could. These are situations that are well discussed by a number of different entities, individuals, and groups. So the UK and the US finally agreed to give permission to use these missiles. And Ukrainian officials claimed Thursday Russia launched intercontinental ballistic missile at Dnipro. This cannot be confirmed. So what I'm just saying is, you know, when we say what we do we have the information? Do we know truly what's been discussed, the reasons why? The allies that are also consulted on these types of issues, because it's not done unilaterally. And I think I could say that with some degree of assurance. Let's remember, 1 million people have been either wounded or killed in a conflict that Russia started. They invaded Ukraine. Ukraine did not invade Russia. And I hope President, when Trump comes into office, that he can reach some type of settlement, because it's not going to be good, and it will continue for a long period of time if not done. So just wanted to bring a little color to the conversation.
Now, I wanted to ask you, Bob, if you don't mind, just because you have your finger on the pulse of what's happening, probably more than most of us. With Great Britain entering this fray, is this a sign of major escalation? Will other NATO powers perhaps do the same?
Well, other NATO powers are already involved in this. They're supplying equipment, they're supplying intelligence. So whether it's Leopard tanks from Germany or Great Britain providing missiles and equipment, please understand this is a collaboration between our NATO allies and the United States. They understand what's at risk here. You've got Poland involved. You've got Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia involved. So do not mistake that the United States is acting unilaterally. This is a threat to Europe and the United States. And I just want people to understand really how much is at stake here and what will continue needing to be done even when Trump takes office. He's not unaware of this. And I would hope he has good people surrounding him that continue the relationships that have been developed.
All right, Bob. Thank you so much for sharing that. Appreciate it. And listen, safe travels and have a happy Thanksgiving.
I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Take care. All right, let's get right back to the phones. I believe Jerry is up next. Jerry, good morning. You're on Talkback, sir. What's on your mind?
Good morning, gentlemen. Could I address the caller that was about the veterans defending the country?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
I've called in enough to know you guys know I'm a veteran. But this is just Jerry's opinion. Now, I can't speak for other veterans,
gotcha.
But I'm being selfish. I don't want to go to jail. I'm subject to the same laws as somebody who's never served the country.
Right.
I don't want to go to jail for going down to the border and shooting somebody or taking the law in my own hands and stuff. So, like I said, I'm being selfish.
And I will tell you that coming from a whole family of veterans, my mother and father were both lifers in the Marine Corps, all that stuff. And I think they would be the first to say, you know what? I volunteered to serve my country. I served it for 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, whatever it was. And now that my service is done, I am a law-abiding American citizen.
Exactly. And we're subject to the same laws you are. You never served, but you and I are subject to the same laws. So I said, I'm being selfish. I don't want to go to jail for.
and you would, right? I mean, you don't get these. Thank you for your service, but you still broke the law.
Exactly. Why did you shoot that guy? Well, I'm defending my country. So sorry, get in the car. Okay, that was my point.
Jerry, thank you for the call, sir. Appreciate it. Well said. All right, Jeff is up next. Jeff, good morning. You're on Talkback again, sir. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning again. 3 points. The guy who called just before the top of the hour wondering why veterans aren't streaming to the border. Because I signed contracts to join the military. I didn't sign I didn't take up any sort of effort to be a vigilante. And so there's a difference between vigilantism and military service. And I hope that people would understand the difference. I do want the border protected, and I will do everything legally possible, but I'm not a vigilante. Number two, on the point I made about the money going to the school districts from the Department of Justice.
Yes, sir.
2 points. 2 points about that. First of all, I think it would be ridiculous if the Department of Defense gave $1 million to the Lolo School District to put in solar panels. I mean, yes, they need electricity, and it's important, but why would the Department of Defense do that? That's not in their job yard. It's not in their wheelhouse. And that was one of the points I was making. The other one is that it's federal dollars. And why is the federal government taxing the entire population of the United States to do stuff for Lolo School District? That's never made any sense. And number three is to help our good friend and colleague Sandy Vasica. I think if they can afford $7 million for concrete for a parking garage, they ought to have the city put in the sidewalks on the right-of-way at no expense to the individual homeowner. That's just patently ridiculous. And for SIDs, as far as I know it, they can go up to 40 years. Whatever the extension, I think they can add 20 years to it. So they can go as long as 40 years. So a lot of folks who vote for them will never see them expire.
Are they allowed to do that unilaterally without at least notifying, without saying, hey, when we set this up, it's 20 years, but, we need an extra 10 years. I don't understand that. That seems illegal to me.
It's part of the provision of establishing special tax increment special districts, that there is an extension provision in the regulation or the law that allows it. Wow. So, no, they're not breaking the law. They're just exercising their option.
Wow. Well, it doesn't seem fair to me, but who am I?
No, it's completely out of hand. I mean, the MRA is getting all sorts of money. Lack of transparency. Nobody knows how much money they have. It's not available for public consumption. If it were, I would like somebody from the city council or the governor's or the mayor's office to come out and say where we can find out how much the MRA has and how much they spend. You had another caller talk about the MRA money. I think that's going to what was it? There was some sort of thing that they were spending close to $1 million for. They were just going to go, it's they bought up that land, the triangle there by the Southgate Mall.
Right.
They didn't ask anybody. They're just talking about buying it. And then, we'll improve it and then sell it back. That's not what a city is supposed to do. That doesn't fall into the core competencies. It's another case of things just getting out of hand and people doing what they want to do. They talk about having all these plans for 20, 40 years or whatever, but in the end, they just do whatever they want to.
All righty, sir. Thanks for the call. As always, we appreciate it. We're going to get right back. We have Ed and Earl both waiting to visit. And by the way, several phone lines open. It's open phones, whatever you want to talk about. Hey, you're doing a great job so far. Let's keep it up. 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. Or, of course, use the KGVO app and use the Message Us button. We'll be right back after this.
Montana State News Network.
I'm Dennis Bragg, a Utah investor who stirred up a major controversy 3 years ago to redevelop the former Missoulian newspaper building, is being accused of stealing some $40 million from investors. Federal prosecutors say Aaron Wagner and his co-defendant, Michael Maines, used the money for lavish personal spending to give the false illusion of a successful business record to lure investors. Specifically, he's accused of wire fraud and money laundering, including an attempt to open 10 Hello Sugar restaurants, claiming he'd already opened 50 when in fact prosecutors say it was only 15. The case first came to light in late October, and this week Wagner pled not guilty. Maines is due in court in Salt Lake in early December. Among other penalties, prosecutors are seeking forfeiture of the Missoula property. Governor Greg Gianforte is starting the process to find a new district court judge for several eastern Montana counties. That's needed after Judge Catherine Bittigary prevailed in her campaign for the Montana Supreme Court, where she's replacing retiring Judge Dirk Sandifer. The new judge, who won't be appointed until after a public comment period closes in mid-January, will serve in the 7th District, which covers Dawson, Prairie, Macomb, Richland, and Webo counties. Members of the Montana Farm Bureau are being warned to be aware of a new form being required the first of the year, which impacts hundreds of small businesses operating under an LLC registered with the Secretary of State's office. Accountant Gina Stevens explains the BOI form, part of the FinCEN regulations, is a simple one-page declaration. But if it's overlooked, the potential fines are hefty.
There are a number of farmers and ranches that formed an LLC years ago, kind of forgot about it, mom and pop, and the lawyer said, I'll do an LLC, and they registered it with the state, and then they don't do anything with it. They kind of forget about it. Well, that's exactly who's targeted here. And if you forget, it's a $571 a day starting January 1st.
Stevens notes the form is a legal matter, so it can't just be filled out by your CPA. This is the Montana State News Network.
If I could be you.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
We are back. This is Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. 1-800-568-5309. We got open phones going on. Several lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, but Ed has been waiting the longest. Ed, good morning, sir. You're on Talkback. What's up?
Yeah, good morning, and thanks to Jeff for bringing the discussion down to a local level. Sidewalks.
You bet.
Compared to what's happening in Ukraine, it's pretty minor, but in any event, I'd still like to talk a little bit about it. We live in the Wapakea area, and we don't have sidewalks. And we knew that 45 years ago when we bought the place, and it didn't bother us at all. If they were to put sidewalks across the front of our place, they would be elevated over the roadway, and they'd be looking right into our living room. The houses were placed on the lots with the knowledge that there wasn't a sidewalk there. And we'd be close to that sidewalk. Now, I'd be staring at somebody right now, perhaps. So in any event, it's not real architecture, but think about that when you talk about sidewalks. And I'm looking at trees that are going to have to be removed. Lots of trees that will have to be removed if sidewalks are put in here. So in any event, totally against it, and thanks for listening to my rant.
Sure. Well, I will tell you, I think what they're talking about is not installing sidewalks, but either repairing or extending sidewalks along one that's already there. Now, I could be wrong about that.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for enlightening me.
Okay. Thanks for the call. All right, let's and that's what planning is all about. When a neighborhood is planned, do you want to have sidewalks or you don't want to have sidewalks? Well, that's up to the developers. They kind of atmosphere they want to create. So, all right, let's get Earl on the line. Earl, good morning, sir. You are on Talkback. What's up?
Oh, good morning, guys. Great open phone session this morning. I'm happy I could get in. I had a little note on the questions about taxes. Commissioner Slotnick will be out at the Clinton School tonight.
Right.
Hosted by the Clinton Council, and he will have about 40 minutes in the 6 o'clock hour explaining how property taxes work. So I think he ought to get more question on how they're spent, but I admire the effort anyway. At least he's getting out into the community and making an effort. And for folks who can't make it out to Clinton, I believe on the Clinton Council Facebook page, they have a Google Meets link for people who are technically inclined, and they could probably watch and either get some information or some grounds for some more questions. So that was the first item I had for you. The second item, I listened the other day. I wasn't able to call in when you had the. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. The gentleman who was not a fan of the Electoral College and the way it works. Dr. somebody or other. I wish I could remember the name.
Go ahead, Dr. Adler.
Dr. Adler.
Yeah.
I would love to test the production powers of the fabulous Nick to see if Dr. Adler and Dr. Nadelson could maybe debate that out a little bit, because I had a disagreement with Dr. Adler about how he seemed to go into this refrain about there were two things about, well, the people whose electors don't get elected by in the Electoral College process, well, they're disenfranchised, which to me is the equivalent of saying the people who voted for John Tester this year are disenfranchised. They lost. Sometimes you don't win your vote. That's the system we have. Second refrain he had was, well, the founders never contemplated federalism when they were setting up the Electoral College. Now, I can't remember my Federalist papers or anything, but I bet some smart guy like Dr. Nadelson could probably find some reference to the federalism that was thought about in the entire Constitutional Convention. It was the theme of the whole effort. So I think Dr. Adler discounted that, and at least maybe next time Dr. Nadelson is on, it could be brought up, but I would love it if you guys could arrange some sort of a debate or discussion between those two with some questions. So that's a show idea for you, and that's all I got this morning.
Yeah, Earl, I appreciate it. I will say that I did not speak with Dr. Adler. It was one of Bob's guests who he scheduled, so I don't even have his contact info, so I'd have to go through Bob to potentially try to set something like that up, and then obviously run it by our friend Rob Nadelson. And just so you know, Rob will be on. His next appearance is December 2nd at 9 o'clock. So if you get time to bring that up, because obviously we'll try to remember and bring it up for you, but no guarantees on that front. So if you get time and remember, feel free to give us a call that Monday the 2nd.
I'll make an effort to do that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Nick is only saying that because he's not going to be here that day, and he knows how forgetful I am. So.
Well, I didn't want to come out and say it fully, but yeah,
I'm old. What can I tell you? We're up against a break. We have Emmett and we have Emmett standing by, and we have lots of phone lines open. If you have a question or a comment, it's open phones for another 28 minutes or so. So if you have something you'd like to say, we'd like to hear it. 721-1290 is our number. We'll be right back after this.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Data shows that after a child turns 9 in foster care, they are much less likely to be adopted. But the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption believes every child is adoptable.
Families, if you're able to let your hair down a little bit, there's a lot to learn from teenagers.
The clock is ticking for teens at risk of aging out of foster care. Learn how you can help at davethomasfoundation.org.
Hey, we're back. This is Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. We have open phones for another about 26 minutes or so. But Emmett has been waiting through the break. Emmett, good morning. What's on your mind, sir?
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Well, a couple of points. One, I do have a question. Was Alex Jones, has been sued to death, and his platform, his internet platform is gone. His Facebook page is gone. It's been bought up by something called The Onion. I've only heard of it because of the Sandy Hook lawsuits. Does that mean his radio show is gone, too?
I do
he
not
used to have a radio show.
I do not know. I have never listened to him, so I don't know.
Well, if it has, or even if his platform is gone, like, the internet page, because I've been on his website, Infowars.com, that is a very dark day for America. You cannot cancel someone just because you don't like their speech. Look, I was there listening the day he talked about Sandy Hook. What he was saying was that it was a false flag set up by the government, he believed, to confiscate our guns, and they were actors. The whole thing. That's what he was trying to say.
And he was completely wrong. Yeah,
he was.
And I will tell you that destroyed his believability. From that point on, no one took him seriously anymore.
Well, that is a good point. But as a journalist, can't you get stories really wrong sometimes? I've never been a journalist. I've done a show where I've come, but I've never been a journalist. Surely you can get stories really wrong and then have to say, I'm sorry. You should have said, I'm sorry, I got the story wrong.
That would have gone a long way, but from what I understood, he didn't. And so,
I just feel like he's being canceled because of what his beliefs are. I'd like to ask Rob Natelson if what they did to Alex Jones is even legal or constitutional to silence his speech, because it sounds like an attack on free speech. They come against him, they can come against all of us. I admit he should have apologized, just said, I blew the story, And so you've raised some good points because you are a journalist yourself. I'm not.
I have never claimed to be a journalist. I'm a reporter. Journalists are well-trained people who go to school to learn their craft. Nick is a trained journalist, and that's why I'm glad that he's here to advise me, because I need help every now and then.
I thought journalists and reporters were the same thing.
Nope.
Fascinating. Okay, well, my other thing is about Ukraine. I was doing some other things and getting ready, so I didn't listen to Talkback, but I've listened to the whole story about Ukraine and the new ICBM that Russia's thrown. And, of course, the new nuclear doctrine. It sounds like we're very close to nuclear war. It does sound like Russia has sent a message. If we can send ICBMs, and the next one might be nuclear tipped. So we've got to pray for this country. With this could be Armageddon, but we got to hold our ground and not be afraid of the Russians. I'm just glad Donald Trump is in the White House.
Well, he's not there yet.
Yep.
All right.
He's not there yet.
Yep. Emmett, thanks for the call.
Not there yet, but he will be.
Okay, appreciate it, buddy. Bob is up next. Bob, good morning. Thanks for holding. You're on Talkback, sir. What's on your mind?
Hi, I'm a first-time caller, but frequent listener.
Well, thank you for calling. It's good to hear your voice. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so there was a couple of items that came up that I thought I might comment on. One is Jeff's comment on special improvement districts.
Okay.
And I think he may have been confusing special improvement districts with tax increment finance districts. Special improvement districts are done for things like putting in lighting and stuff like that. And the lady that called was talking about this being a county tax that was being extended. And MRA doesn't do any work it only works in the city.
That's true. I just looked it up, and the exact definition here is an SID, Special Improvement District, is the most qualified mechanism to encourage local property and business owners to improve the district. So, yeah.
Sure, but that is different than a tax increment finance district.
Correct.
Okay. And then, so that's what MRA is dealing with.
Gotcha. Right? Well, thank you.
Okay.
And listen.
And then I have
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
I was just saying, Bob had one more comment.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
So the other question that was brought up was how home ownership works with under 80% of AMI folks, and that is a requirement when HUD money is used. The federal money is used. Now, local money can be used as an example at the Scott Street development, the old White Pine Sash. There is no HUD money in that, so they're using local funds and MRA funds to help that housing, and that housing is going up to 120% of AMI, the stuff that is the community land trust housing. And the other question is whether when people want to sell, if they get a better job and they want to move up in their housing, they definitely can do that, and they can also stay in the subsidized housing they're originally in. It's not like a yearly qualification that they remain under 80% of AMI.
Yeah, of course, AMI is for area median income, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All righty. Well, thanks for the updates. Good to hear your voice. Thanks. Don't be a stranger. Call again, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Stay with us. We have Candy and Brian who are both waiting to visit with us. It's open phones from now until 10 o'clock, and we'd love to hear from you. What's on your mind? 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. Coming right back after this. I love that old song.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hey, welcome back to Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. It is open phones. And Candy has been waiting patiently through the break. Candy, thank you so much. What's on your mind?
I want to assure Emmett that Alex Jones hasn't gone anywhere. It was an illegal auction and they took the bid from the Onion, and it was underbid, and he's suing the Onion and the Sandy Hook parents. I'm not going to dispute the truth or falsity of the Sandy Hook claim, but Alex Jones is alive and well, and you should listen to him sometimes, Peter, because he has a lot of good information, and he is alive and well, and he's at InfoWars. They tried to stop him, and they found out that the whole court case on his bankruptcy and all that stuff was falsified. So, Emmett, if you can get to the library, you can get caught up on it. And Peter, I would recommend him highly. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the call, Candy. Appreciate that. Brian is standing by. Brian, good morning. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I also just wanted to put Emmett's mind at ease that it was a corrupt sale. A judge halted it, and the CEO of the Onion just was blatantly out there lying about the sale. So Alex Jones is still on.
Can I ask a question? Isn't the Onion kind of like a parody website?
I think so. I've never actually looked at it.
Because I know they do a lot of parody things, spoofing about this and that and the other thing. And I know in some cases they're a very popular website. But yeah, anyway, that's my thought. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, no, it sounds like that's what it is. I really don't know all that much about it. But then I also wanted to point out that Dave's favorite dictator, Zelensky, who I believe the CIA installed, and I thought everybody knew that, he just canceled the second election, so he's going to remain dictator, and Dave can go on praising him.
All right.
And that's it.
All right. Thanks for the call, Brian. Appreciate it. All right. What's on your mind this morning? Nick, what's going on?
What's on my mind?
Yes.
It's, well, people are going to be mad how I say this.
Okay.
It's Cat Grizz weekend.
Grizz Cat weekend.
So you say Grizz Cat. Cat Grizz. So I say, listen, as a Grizz fan, that's the thing, too. I mean, I know that Grizz is supposed to be first, but it just rolls off the tongue better than Cat Grizz.
Alphabetically, it is correct.
It is, yeah. And if you want to be safe, you can just say Brawl of the Wild. But it's a big weekend for the Grizz regardless. I know people don't love when we talk football here, but hey, it's open phones and we don't have calls right now. Feel free to call in. But yeah, I'd love to hear what people think of the game coming up.
Can I ask a question? Where did the term Brawl of the Wild come from? I don't know.
You're supposed to know those answers.
I don't understand. It's not my favorite expression. It's always just been Grizz Cat, you know? Yeah. I mean, so anyway, or Cat Grizz, whatever it might be. Yeah.
It pained you to say it.
Well, no, it's okay. We still have the majority of wins over this history of the event.
And we currently hold the trophy.
Yes, we do. It's safely ensconced in the Champions Center. And
I would love to know real quick from you as the PA guy, what do you do on these weekends when it's a road game? Are you glued to the TV? What's your routine like for these big games?
Well, you know, I'm a fan like everybody else. I like to see the Grizz play. I like to see them on the road. I enjoy seeing what I enjoy seeing is when our guys go to a different venue, it makes me deeply and profoundly appreciate the investment that the University of Montana and boosters and all that have done for our Washington Grizzly Stadium. Because there is simply no other venue, especially in the Big Sky Conference, that even comes close to the atmosphere, and that's why teams hate to come here to play, because we have 26, sometimes 27,000 screaming fans. And they have the false start counter now, which is something we're actually encouraging.
Yeah.
So I just think that's the coolest thing ever. So, and it's right there in the north end zone.
Well, and how they design that, I mean, such props, because I've seen different charts with decibel levels in terms of noise.
Right.
And I've seen where Washington Grizzly, with, like you said, their 27,000 people, being ranked 9th out of 10 for all of college football.
Right.
When we're talking about other stadiums like the Big House in Michigan, Penn State, where they have upwards of 100,000,
right,
80,000, 70,000, and Grizz fans, and the way that stadium is designed, where it just traps that sound.
It's in the bowl.
It's literally, the decibel levels are similar, if not the same, to some of those big places, and pro athletes that have played here, they've said the same thing. They can attest to it. They say they've never played at a place louder before.
Yeah, Tony Romo's one of them. He lost here. Joe Flacco lost here. So many big time athletes look back at visiting Washington Grizzly Stadium and saying, I never want to go back there again. So anyway, the people who designed the stadium and the officials at the University of Montana, kudos to making it the most exciting, most compelling football atmosphere in the country, in my opinion.
Have you ever been to Bozeman for a game?
I have never been to Bozeman for a game.
I haven't been either. I've obviously...
I'm sure they've made lots of improvements. So
that's what I've heard. I've had a lot of friends and family that have traveled to there and watched a game, and they say it has been improving each and every year. It obviously helps because they're making the buku bucks, so they can afford to do that and make the improvements. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how loud it is and how their fans bring it this weekend, because I think, where they ranked 2, I think,
I believe they ranked 2 in the they're undefeated. They're 11-0, and they've earned it. So
they sure have.
Well, let me tell you what. When I was watching the UC Davis game, and the Cats were up by like 2 touchdowns, and in just a few precious minutes, they whittled it down to the point where they could have tied it if they'd simply completed the two-point conversion after the touchdown, and that would have been a brand new ball game.
Would have been, all the momentum would have been with UC Davis, and UC Davis is a really good team. I know a lot of Grizz fans were real upset after that loss to UC Davis at home, because we're not used to losing at home for one, and that's 2 home losses now in the year because of the Weber game as well. But After seeing how UC Davis played the Bobcats, UC Davis is obviously a really good team too, so I felt a little less bad about that loss, but the Grizz are certainly going to have their hands full going into this weekend.
Absolutely. We're going to take a 1-minute timeout. Then we have Vern and Ed both waiting to visit with us. It's open phones for another 8 minutes or so. So what's on your mind this morning? You want to talk about Grizz Cat Grizz, whatever? Give us a call. We'll be right back after this quick 1-minute timeout.
Suck it up.
It's not a big deal.
Snap out.
Just get over it.
We've all heard it. But if you're experiencing extreme stress, it's not just in your head. It can affect your entire body because toxic stress can hurt us physically without us even knowing it. If you've lost a job, worry about your next meal, or have trouble making it through the day, if you're feeling the effects of stress, we can help. Text stress to 211-211 to find a solution.
We are back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. Nick and I are smiling. Like, we're talking about the Grizz. Okay, let's get Vern on the line. Vern, good morning, sir. You are on Talkback. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Peter. Good morning, Nick. I've been a Grizzly fan for 40 years, seen everything you could possibly see in the Grizzly athletics down there. And I would like to know somebody's perspective. The other night, there was, 26,000 fans in the stands?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And almost deflated. They did their job. The fans in the stands really did their job and came up big. The greatest, it seems like they're the greatest fan base in the country. My question is, why would anyone, a coach who I think Bobby Houck's the best, he's the best. He brought stability back to Montana. Why would anyone take Logan Fife out of a football game showing what he showed in the first two series or so? It made no sense to me. And there was a dust-up on the field here at the last game when Logan and Bobby had a dust-up. And I can't understand why someone would take somebody with that quality. It probably don't even have him next year. But why would someone do that, Peter? Maybe Nick knows. I don't know. But the fans sure knew.
I'll tell you,
I heard it through the whole stands.
That's been one of the confusing things for me all year, and obviously we kind of played around with that last year, is just picking a quarterback and kind of sticking with one. And I've been talking about it leading up to this week that I think Fife gives us the best chance to win right now. And I think there's something about when you have a quarterback out there and they don't know if it's going to be their last snap or, because it's not always like this guy gets one series, then Fife comes in for the next. And so they don't trade drives equally. So sometimes one guy gets 2 or 3. Sometimes one guy plays pretty much the whole game, but they've been pretty much kind of this weird balance back and forth. And I can tell you from other quarterbacks that I've talked to that it's hard when you're playing like that because you don't know if you're going to be in on the next series. So you're gripping the ball a little tighter, maybe trying to make a throw that maybe you shouldn't because you want to earn your right to stay in there. So, but what Fife did after that dust up and how good he looked, that second half of that game too, I think he does give us the best chance to win. And I think you just need to start him the whole game and see how the dice kind of fall.
Yeah, they have to realize that they're going into a machine that won't beat you. They will hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
These people are North Dakota, South Dakota quality teams, and they know how to hold, and they know the line play, and they will hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish the best. I think they're great. I think Logan's probably going to be gone, just like the other kids. They have a kid that's 6'4" from Helena that will never see the field there. I don't know why he doesn't transfer. They got another guy from Idaho, one of the top high school picks out of Idaho. I don't know why he's not going to be, transfer. Nothing makes sense to a lot of people and to me. So I don't know. That's just my. One more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a veteran. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and the guy that came on and said veterans go to the border. I mean, if during the Obama administration, Susan Rice came out and nixed all the veterans. You probably remember that. She said the biggest threat to this country is the veterans.
Oh, man.
I mean, veterans would be down there in a heartbeat. So, go Grizz. That's what I have to say. And you guys do a great job.
Thanks for the call. And thanks for your service to our country, too, sir. Appreciate it. Ed is up next. Ed, good morning, sir. What's up?
Yeah, the fellow I hope isn't playing for his team next year gets in the portal is Tommy Millott, to tell you the truth.
That'd be nice.
Touchdown Tommy, yeah.
Yeah, well, about the Brawl of the Wild. I remember when this happened, 25 years ago. The Missoulian just started using that term. They just on their own started using that term, and it didn't really catch on for a few years. And then people finally caught on, but it was only football. Then the basketball team had the Brawl of the Wild, and the ladies' basketball team had the Brawl of the Wild. But the Missoulian just started it one fall, many years ago.
Well, one of the sports writers probably decided, hey, that sounds like a pretty interesting way to term the Grizz Cat game. So,
yeah, it's a play on words,
right.
Call of the Wild.
Brawl of the Wild, you bet.
Okay, that's it.
All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. All right. So we're a little early to start taking score predictions.
Yeah, well, I can say that I was going to mention this to Vern while he was on, but the big question mark that I've had all year is the split when it comes to the rushing attack with Nick Osmo and Eli Gilman. I love Nick Osmo. I think he runs really hard. He's like on his 6th or 5th year.
Right.
He's had a ton of yards for us. But Eli Gilman is one of those players that's so explosive it can score at any point. And, we split carries between those two guys as well. And, again, unfortunately, if you're going to play the Cats, I feel like you need a guy like Eli Gilman getting those 20 carries a game because he can score, like I said, at any time. And, I mean, last week he turned, I think it was, what did he have? He had 14 carries into 134 yards. He was leading at one point, like halfway through the season, the entire college football landscape in yards per carry. So, yeah, I mean, I get the change of pace and, maybe it's to keep Eli fresh. But when it comes to this game against the Cats, you need to go all out. And you talk about transfers. Eli Gilman, that's a guy who I would love if he stayed, but he is so coveted right now. I mean, I'd be shocked if he stayed. So it's like if this is potentially going to be his last game, which we hope not.
But yeah, no matter what happens in this game, the Grizzlies will probably be assured of a playoff berth and at least one, maybe 2 games extra. We need to be, as you mentioned, be consistent. Put your best players on the field, let them play, and go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, but I just think the Bobcats are, I think last I checked, a 17-point favorite going in. So,
right.
And usually when these two teams play, obviously you can throw the record books out.
I love this app.
Just see what happens. And
where's my record book? I'm throwing it out.
If we were at home, I'd be even more confident. But it's like anything could happen. I don't want Grizz fans to lose faith. I just hopefully we'll just kind of see what happens.
All together now. Go Grizz!
Yeah, there you go.
Beat the Cats. All right. Anyway, what's coming up on tomorrow's fabulous program, Mr. Nick?
I believe we have City Talk tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
9 to 10.
Ginny Miriam will be in with a special guest from the city of Missoula. We're not quite sure who it's going to be right now, but the nice thing is these folks are here to talk to you, to discuss city issues with our listeners, and that's why they're here for City Talk and for County Talk as well. Get out there and enjoy the day. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.